Eric Glomski. That's funny. I graduated in '92. I'm pretty sure. One of the great kind of tragic quotes from my past is when I was trying to convince my parents to help fund me going to school here. My father referred to it as camp. He goes, "I'm not going to pay for you to go to camp," right? And then he came, Pan to my graduation, and he came up to me and said, I completely owe you an apology. Ultimately, I graduated from PC, but I had kind of done a lot of different things. And I feel like this place is such a fabric of who I am now and my trajectory, my successes. In fact, on the way in, I was asking about, hey, do you still do learning contracts? And I did a lot of teaching after I left Prescott College too, and to this day, I consider myself an educator. The learning contracts were really important to me because they taught me how to set goals and conceive means to reach those goals and to measure whether I reach them. And building a business of my own, all of those very simple, subtle things. People tend to think of college as content, right? And that's cliche. And then people who know a little more about it think about critical thinking skills and techniques you learned and the ability to learn how to learn and all that. And I definitely think that this place gave me the tools to not only be successful in my own personal life, but kind of guidelines were essentially guidelines for helping me to build my own business. Though all of those things, as well as obviously the people, the experiences, and I'm very much an experiential learner, so this place was perfect for me. So there you go. Just so many profound experiences here. Certainly orientation in the field was incredible. The group of people, I remember all of them vividly, the group leaders, the places we went. I had this one really, really interesting experience on orientation where it was a crossover of two groups, and it was a resupply, so the two groups could be resupplied at the same time. But it was kind of a day off. And not being I'm definitely an A+ type personality, there was this side canyon, and there was, on the map it said Stone House. And so I kind of got together a group of people who weren't completely gassed. And we're in the middle of nowhere. This was Hell's Gate area. And there's a horse outside the little stone house. And so we get up there and we knock on the door, and this old man, his name is Raymond Kane. And inside that little cabin, there was a propane tank and a refrigerator. And it was full of frozen Snickers bars and Coca-Cola. Okay? And can you imagine being on orientation and coming upon this? It was just like, are you kidding me? And obviously that was the funny part of it. But the coolest thing was this guy, we told him who we were and what we were doing, and he kind of fashioned himself a true environmentalist. He gave us such a great talking to about what it was to really be close to the land and live on the land and depend on the land very directly. And I will never forget that we spent probably an hour with him as he kind of lectured us, the young guys. And then we went back and nobody believed that we were drinking Coca-Cola and eating Snickers bars, which was, not the healthiest thing, but when you're on orientation, a Snickers bar is like gold, right? So anyway, there's a story for you. These days, I call myself a wine grower. Years after leaving Prescott College, I went to California. I learned how to make wine. I learned how to grow grapes, at least initially. That would be like my bachelor's degree. Okay, I spent 7 years doing that out in California. I came back here because I always felt like Arizona was my home, because this is the place where I kind of felt like I became a conscious human being. So many seminal things happened, and I started paying attention. Well, I came back to build my business. I couldn't do this early on because starting a business is super capital, especially my business. Vineyards, you need land, you need water, you need to spend money on planting vines and putting in trellises and all this stuff, and then you don't get a crop for years. But as time progressed, it was always very clear to me that if I was going to have a business, it had to be, for lack of a better explanation, a green business. Certainly farming keeps you close to the earth, and that was important to me. But winemaking actually is a semi kind of industrial process. You have big chillers and AC units and things that keep stuff cold, and you have stainless steel tanks, and you have pumps, and it's kind of like there's a big process engineering portion of it. And we used a lot of electricity, and we generated a lot of both solid and liquid wastes. And later, because we loved the idea of food and wine together, we built a bistro, and we had a lot of solid waste from that bistro as well. We're 100% photovoltaic, and we have we have a 125 kilowatt solar array on our winery that I did in 2 stages. We have a liquid waste system where every toilet, every sink, every drain in the winery all go into a pretty advanced on-site waste treatment facility with anaerobic digestion, and then we built an aerobic section where we have these houses that we rain down the waste through this media, and then we run them through wetlands and then back into the system and for landscape plantings, So we get a full reuse there. And then every chunk of solid waste, whether it be sediments from the bottom of a barrel to scraps from our kitchen, goes into a composting program that we actually combine with a local horse farm and the state fish hatcheries right next door, so we get all their fish emulsion. And so we use those, and that's the basis for our fertility program. But there's certain things in reality where we can't compost or we can't find alternatives for, but we're constantly pushing the envelope and trying to do a better job. The artistic side of my life is this winemaking, but this scientific and environmental, ecological, sustainability, regenerative side came from Prescott College for me, and I kind of fused the two of them. I'm an alum, and this is my alma mater. Some of my best friends I went to college with here, right? And some of them were still working here. Christine Preziosi, just so recently. I just saw her the other night. An alum named Raina Gentry, who actually, I sell her art in our tasting room. I have, and so I still have these connections with people. I still have a lot of friends in town. In fact, one of my mentors is here. He just turned 93. His name's Richard Landis. I think if I were to thank anybody, it's really a community, right? This is an awesome community you guys belong to here, and it's never one person, it's a bunch of people, and it's this thing that you keep alive between you, right? This culture, that's Prescott College. So